relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Welcome back. We call this Recovery Radio for very good reasons. We have the people from the Orchard Recovery Center over on Bowen Island back in studio with us. The executive director is Lorinda Strang. Anne-Marie McCullough is the communications person, also community relations, and also a bonus on the program today is Susie Golemba, who is an interventionist, an internationally certified interventionist. That's a mouthful and a half from Global Interventions. You were intervened by an emergency room physician at a Vancouver hospital when you were just a whisker away from offing yourself on booze and drugs. What did that guy do, Susie, that's so, besides save your life, no small feat, but what is it about him or his style or his methodology that so impressed you that you've taken that profession for the rest of your adult working life?
Well, he was actually an addiction specialist, who I still see, by the way. He just told me, you're going to die. But really what swayed me was my children. When I saw what that was doing to them, me lying there like that, I really decided that I should probably do that for them. Try to take some help for my children. Not for me. I didn't care about myself, but I realized I couldn't do that to my children.
Interesting. So now, these many years later, you've come full circle, and now you're an internationally certified interventionist. You travel all over the world, helping people who were in precisely the same predicament you were 6-8 years ago. So now here we are. We've got you together with a family that has sought your services, probably called Lorinda and had a few conversations, and ultimately Lorinda said, okay, look, I think it's time you spoke with Susie. So you've spent a day with them. You've gone through the process of letting them vent and talk about what they want good to happen to this family member. They've written a letter to them describing what they used to be and what kind of odd person or thing they've turned into and how they desperately want to see that old person come back. And if they don't accept the treatment we've united to gather and get for you, then there will be these outcomes, and it's not going to end well for you because I'm essentially not going to be as available, certainly as I have been in the past. All that is done on day one. Day two, very much to his or her surprise, the addict is brought into this family group, and you or one of your colleagues are also there. Describe what happens from the moment the person arrives, because that's the one thing I did get on that intervention show on TV. It was always a shock for the person who was receiving the intervention. What the? And in many cases they reacted angrily and, oh, you're sabotaging me and all of this stuff. Is it typical, for example, for the addict to arrive at this family gathering completely unaware of what's about to happen, on some kind of substance, drunk or stoned or whatever? Is that fairly common?
That does happen. It does happen. Usually we try to do the interventions earlier in the day if possible, just because they may not be as loaded. But it does happen, and we still go ahead in the same way with the intervention. Basically, when the person comes in, I stand up and I invite them to come and join us. Tell them that we're there because their family loves them very much. Would you please sit down and just listen to the letters?
Okay.
And that's all I say.
So the letters come right off the top.
That's
then.
right.
Okay.
The intervention's very carefully orchestrated right down to the seating pattern for the people. Who are you going to see when you first walk in the room?
Okay.
All those kind of things. And usually the person will come and sit down. Sometimes it takes a little cajoling, but usually they will come and sit and they will listen. And it is an extremely intimate and emotional experience for everybody in that room.
And what's a typical size? Is it usually just mom and dad and maybe the immediate siblings, or does it go beyond that or nuclear group to include aunts and uncles or grandparents? What do you prefer?
It can include anyone. A lot of times people's friends are there. We try to keep the group down to no more than 6 people.
Okay.
Just because it's very overwhelming for a person to walk into a room and see 15 people.
Right, right. You really feel ganged up
That's
upon
right.
it, and all of a sudden you're in the victim shell again, right?
That's right. So we try to keep it down to a small number. Sometimes it's just 2 people. Sometimes there will be 8 people there, but in general we don't want to get too many people there. Anybody who's really, really supportive of the person, has been affected by the person
Right.
and their addiction, who loves this person and wants to help.
Okay, so each person then takes his or her turn reading their letter.
That's right.
And the addict is just, all they have to do is just shut up and listen,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
So after everyone has taken their turn, what happens next? Do you want a reaction from the addict? Or are you expecting a speech or an apology? Or what's next?
It's made very clear to the family members that the only thing to be said is the letters are to be read. That it is not a time to start blaming or yelling or anything like that. The letters are read. At the bottom of the letters, it always says, "Will you accept the help today?" And that, that's a basic format. And we really try to get the letters read. Oftentimes, one letter will be read, and the person will say, "Yes, I'll take the help."
Okay.
If the person says we're not going to go, then I will take the person aside, have a talk with them, bring them back into the room, and then at that point, if they've said no, I'm not going to go, then we read the outcomes. Those outcomes are not read for us. We don't read the outcomes right away.
You don't read this is going to end badly
That's
stuff
right.
unless there's a rejection.
That's right.
So when you take that person aside, follow me. Come on over here. What does that conversation sound like?
I really try and open up with my own story and let the person know that they're not the only person who is an alcoholic or an addict, that I myself walked that journey, and that for me, I'm in recovery, and I took the help that I was given, that I was offered. I'm very persuasive, so most times I will get the person to come back into the room
and give the gang a second chance.
And that's right.
Okay.
It's such an emotional process, and very rarely have I found that we read all the letters. It's 1 or 2, or even a person will walk into the room and say, intervention, okay.
Oh, really?
And what's expressed to me time and time again by the person is that this is a relief. I'm tired. I'm just so tired, and I don't want to do this anymore, but I couldn't ask for help.
Right. Or how about, I don't know how to stop. I am, after all, addicted. This is a substance, whatever it may be, that literally has its claws in my body. I'm hooked. Even if I wanted to stop, I don't know how.
And
so
they're terrified.
Yeah. So it's easier to go get another hit than it is to stop, isn't it? So is that part of the conversation frequently
Absolutely.
as well?
It's a scary thing to look at your life without using mind or mood altering substances. But that's what happens when you go to treatment. You learn those tools. You go to the Orchard. They teach you the tools to be able to live your life without using. And that's a gift. And the whole intervention process is an ultimate gift to give people.
Okay, so now I'm actually hanging in suspense here, because again, we all watch too much television, and so we've seen the show. But I mean, it's an hour, and we're already into day 2 of this process. Does it generally end on the second day, or sometimes are there further rounds of persuasion involved?
The ultimate goal of doing intervention is to get that person from the room where the intervention has taken place to a car, to the airport, immediately to treatment. If a person has time to think about it, they will not go.
So, Lorinda, that's why you were saying this is all coordinated. If, for example, it's likely, now you've talked to the family in the first place. You were the person that recommended Susie to them. So there's a relationship going on there. So it's likely that the family, because they've gone and reached out to the Orchard in the first place, are going to have their family member end up at the Orchard. So if Susie's on an intervention, you will know that, won't you?
Yeah, it depends on if we've called and referred to Susie. Susie may be getting calls from all sorts of other people.
Sure.
We might not always be the right match for the person.
Of course, yeah.
So they'll refer to whatever treatment center fits that person's need. So if we're calling Susie, then we've got a relationship going. That family member's already called us.
Exactly, right.
And maybe even seen our treatment center, and they want their family member to come to us. And so, typically they would call and they would say, we're doing the intervention. They're going to pick a date.
Right.
We're going to pick a date where we have a bed available and a
Right.
doctor available, and we're going to coordinate.
Okay. Let me take a break, because assuming, Susie, you have been successful, and with a 98% success rate, you usually are. So what I'd like to do then is, with Anne-Marie and Lorinda, take that, and your help, of course, but is to take that person from the airport. You've convinced them, and their family, more importantly, has convinced them that you've been offered a gift. You've been offered a chance to get better. So off you go. So you're going to the airport. Let's say they're going to the Orchard. So there's a bed ready. So when we come back, Lorinda and Anne-Marie, let's go through what happens after Susie's success, how you trade on that at the Orchard, and ensure the process carries through. We'll take a quick break here on Recovery Radio. Lots more still ahead. Stay with us. You're listening to AM 650.
Delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call. And there's more still ahead on AM 650.